Hello once again. Welcome to 7.5, the general multiplication rule and tree diagrams. All right, here we go. So general multiplication rule. This will be useful. The probability that events A and B both occur is this. Probability of A and B both occurring is equal to the probability of A times the probability of B given A. So this is a very useful formula, which will be nice in the future. It's actually kind of a modification of a formula we already know. For example, you might already remember that probability of B given A is equal to the probability of uh, B and A, or A and B, you could say, over the probability of A, which is exactly the same formation of this formula. Just imagine for a second, right? You divide both sides by probability of A, and then boom, uh, you have probability of B given A equal to A and B over A. So it's the same formula, just a slight modification, a slight revision of it, but I just want to point that out. Um, yeah, anyway, tree diagrams. The probability of each outcome is shown on the corresponding branch of the tree. All probabilities after the first stage are conditional probabilities. Okay, so you're gonna love these tree diagrams. They're actually super useful. They take a bit to like create and make, but it simplifies a lot of our lives. So that's gonna be fantastic. So let's jump into our first example. Um, we get to see a little bit of the multiplication rule. So smartphones seem to be just about everywhere. While internet access has become an important part of many people's lives, not everyone accesses the internet at home in the same way. Some US adults have broadband internet access at home, some have smartphone access via cellular data, and some have both kinds of access. Based on the recent Pew Research Center survey, 81% of US adults own a smartphone, and 17% of those who own smartphones don't have broadband at home. Find the probability that a randomly selected US adult owns a smartphone and doesn't have broadband at home. So we're looking for this. We're looking for the probability someone owns smartphone. This is tricky. This is tricky. This is tricky. Smartphone. And what does it say? Doesn't have broadband at home. So doesn't have broadband, right? Now, according to our multiplication rule up here, all we have to do is take the probability of A, which is in this case smartphone, probability of smartphone, and multiply it to the probability. Um, Let me turn this off for you. Probability someone doesn't have broadband given they own a smartphone. Probability doesn't, I'm gonna have to squeeze this in here, doesn't broadband given have a smartphone. So I'm just applying this rule right up here. Probability of both is equal to the probability of A, which is, this first one, times probability of B given A. So doesn't have broadband given they have a smartphone. And if we read back in the question a little bit, I think we have that information. So where does it say? Based on a recent Pew Research Center survey, 81% of US adults own a smartphone. Okay, so we have 0.81 right there for the smartphone. And 17 of those who own smartphones don't have broadband. So that's the probability that they own a smartphone and don't have broadband, right? 17% who own smartphones don't have broadband. So they don't have broadband given they own a smartphone. That's 17%. So that's going to be 0.17. And if you multiply those two values together, like the formula says, we end up with 0.1377, 0.1377. So pretty straightforward problem, particularly if you just know your formula. Yeah, nothing too intense about it. Just got to make sure that we know these rules and these formulas. All right, next example. This one's going to be the fun one. So recently, Harris Interactive reported that 20% of millennials aged 18 to 36, 25% of Gen Xers aged 37 to 48, and 21% of baby boomers ages 49 to 67, and 17% of matures aged 68 and older, so all people, read more ebooks than paper books. According to the US Census Bureau, 34% of those 18 and over are millennials, 22% are Gen Xers, 30% are baby boomers, and 14% are matures. Assume that all these results are accurate. Of course, why would we not? Draw a tree diagram to model this chance process. Okay. So in the beginning, right, let's talk about I guess adults, maybe. We're gonna break them down. Oh, hold on now. Don't be zooming in on me like this. Adults. Come on, here we go. All right. Now it says, remember, right here, we're really gonna start with this one. So according to the Census Bureau, this is how the adults break down, right? So we have 4 types, right? We've got the millennials. How do you spell millennials? I'm not a good speller. Double N? Who would have known, right? Millennials. Who else we got? Xers, boomers, and matures. Right? And we can assign a probability to this. So of the population, what does it say? 34% are millennials, so 0.34. Let me change the color here. It's gonna look real nice. Okay, so blue. Ha ha ha. 0.34 are millennials. What else does it say? 22% are Xers, so 0.22. 30% are boomers, so 0.3. And then 14% are mature, so 0.14. Now, better yet, of millennials, we can see how many people prefer to read ebooks versus people who don't read ebooks. So read ebooks. Oh my gosh. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. It's just going to help me write because zooming out like that doesn't give me the accuracy I need. Doesn't. Read ebooks. Ooh, all of a sudden I'm capitalizing things. Okay, so let's look at this real quick before we finish up. So 20% of millennials. I'm gonna use another different color here because you know what? Why not? It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be really nice. 20% of millennials, blah 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 blah, read more ebooks than paper books. So this is gonna be a 20% here, read more ebooks than paper books, which means 80% will not read the ebooks and read the paper books. Does that make sense? So 20% read the ebooks, 80% read paper books is what we're seeing there. All right. Let's keep on rolling. So we're gonna have this same breakdown with all the generations. So it's gonna be kind of tight here. So the Gen Xers, same thing. Boomers, same thing. And then matures, same thing. We're gonna break them into, the ones that read ebooks and don't read ebooks. So, and then I'll fill in the corresponding amounts. All right. So when you look at it, let's look back at some of the data. We're going to need some of this information. Looking at the Gen Xers, 25% of them read more ebooks than paper books. So Gen Xers, we know that 25% will read more, which obviously indicates that 75% do not. If we look at the boomers, where we go, 21% of baby boomers will read more ebooks. So what did I just say? 21%, which means that 79% do not. And then for the matures, we have 17% read ebooks. So 17% versus 83% that do not. All right. Now, just so you know, the reason I know the second value is because I know the first, right? Remember, this is supposed to be 100%, right? So if 20% of millennials read ebooks, then I know 80% do not. Same thing with all these other ones. So if I know 25% of Xers read ebooks, then I know 75% of them do not, et cetera, right? Now, just to help you understand the breakdown, because we saw all these percentages, so it's kind of a double layer thing. Here we have the generations and nothing to do with ebooks. We just have how many people in the country are millennials, how many people in the country are Xers, how many people are boomers, how many people are mature. So this is just a population breakdown, right? Then over here, we break down each generation's uh, ebooks and not ebooks, right? So millennials, how many of them read ebooks versus not, Xers, same thing, et cetera, et cetera. So two layers. We have the first one is just generational, how many people, what's the breakdown of generations in the country, and then what's the breakdown per generation of who reads ebooks and not. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. That is your tree diagram. It's very useful, let's put it, because obviously there's a lot of numbers and it's a great way to organize it. So now we're going to use this to help answer some of the next questions. Find the probability that a randomly chosen person reads more ebooks than paper books. Okay. All right. So give me a second. All right. So um, let me show you another part of this tree diagram that might be useful to help answer this question. So I don't know what the color I haven't used yet. Let's use this nice royal purple. Very nice. Excuse me. All right. So if I want to know the percent of all people who, let me fill in these real quick, who are millennials and read ebooks, I would multiply these together. So millennials and read ebooks, I'm going to take 0.34 times 0.20. And I'm just going to fill that in real quick. So let me use my calculator. 0.34 times 0.20. That's 0.068. 0.068. So basically, that's saying that, you know, 7% of all people are millennials who like to read ebooks. Now, I can do the same thing branch to branch here. Millennials who don't read ebooks, to find the percent of the overall population, it's 80% of this 34%. So again, we multiply them together, just multiply the branches. 0.34 times 0.80 is 0.272. 0.272. And I'm going to do this for all the rest of these branches. So multiplying the Xers to 0.22 with 0.25, and then 0.22 times 0.75. Just multiplying these branches together to get the totals at the ends. So 0.22 times 0.25 is 0.55. 0.22 times 0.75 is 0.165. 0.3 times 0.21, 0.63. Oh, 0.63. Sorry, that's a really high number that you don't want to get wrong. 0.063. 0.3 times 0.79, 0.237. And then final 2.14 times 0.17, 0.0238, 0.0238. And then finally 0.14 times 0.83. 0.1162, 0.1162. Now, this is the breakdown overall of the population. So this is people, these are millennials who read ebooks, percent of overall people who are millennials read ebooks, percent of everybody who's millennial and doesn't read ebooks, percent of the population who is Xers and read ebooks, which is it looks wrong. Let me check that again. 0.22 times 0.25. Oh, 0.55. There we go. So hopefully you noticed that. I noticed that. I was like, that makes a lot of no sense. There we go. Missed a zero there. Et cetera, et cetera. Right. So Overall breakdown. Now I'm using this because it's going to help me with B. Find the probability the randomly chosen person reads more ebooks than paper. So look at all these. Randomly chosen person reads more ebooks. We have this one, right? These people read more ebooks. These people read more ebooks. These people read more ebooks. These people read more ebooks, right? This is the matures that read ebooks, the boomers that read ebooks, the Xers that read ebooks, and the millennials who read ebooks. So I just need to total those up to see what the overall percentage or proportion is. So I'm simply going to take the 0.068 plus the 0.055 plus the 0.063 plus the 0.0238. And when I do that, I get a total of 0.2098, 0.2098. So about 20 or 21% of the population reads an ebook, right? Because I'm combining all generations that like to read ebooks, and it's a total of about, like we said, about 20, 21% of the whole population reads ebooks. So that's nice. If we look at part C, a randomly selected US adult reads more ebooks than hardcover books. What is the probability that this person is a millennial? So, ooh, this is nice. So we have the probability that somebody is a millennial given that they read more ebooks, right? That's what we have in this statement, right? What's the probability that they read more ebooks? Oh no, a random select. We know they already read more ebooks. What's the probability that if they're one of these people that they're millennial? So probability, let's do our math here. Probability that they're millennial and reads ebooks out of the probability that they read ebooks, right? Again, following the formula that we've learned in a previous section, right? Essentially, if you're wondering, again, I'm using the probability of A given B equals probability of A and B divided by the probability of B. I'm using this formula right here. Now, millennial and reads ebooks. We've already done the math there. Millennial and reads ebooks is 0.068, 0.068 out of the probability that reads ebooks. Well, we just found that number out in the last part, 0.2098, 0.2098. So basically it's saying this, 21% of the, I'm just going to round this, right? 21% of the population reads ebooks and 7% of the population, again, just rounding a bit here, are millennials who read ebooks. So 7% divided by the 21% essentially is what we're looking at. So it's probably going to be about a third. If you do the math here, it's going to be 0.3241, 0.3241. So basically what this is saying is that 32% of people who read ebooks are millennials. That's kind of a translation there. 32% of people that read ebooks are millennials. And again, I can't spell, so don't mind me. All right, that's going to do it for 7.5. Certainly one that we're going to practice more of, so don't sweat it. But remember, use your formulas. And also, let's go back to the tree diagram just one more time to review it. So set it up. It should tell you these numbers basically in the problem. Set up the tree diagram. Remember, to find these totals, all you do is multiply the branches together. So first branch gives you this first total. First branch, second branch gives you that total, right? So just multiply the branches together to get these totals. These are the numbers that you're really going to need majority of the time. So I like to do this first, go ahead and get them all, and then use them when I need them, right? I needed them in part B, which also helped me prepare for part C, which was very good. So, yep. My advice so far is just work with the tree diagram. It's certainly going to be useful. So let's get used to this. All right, I'll see you in 7.6. That's it for now.